It's also okay if people come late or are missing. It's obvious we are so many teams, product teams, that it's okay if not always everyone can attend. Welcome to the third Eternity product coordinators. This is how I called it. A weekly call. We try to do this every week now. This is week number 15 in 2019, and I would like to go through all the people which joined that call today and get a short update about the area that that you focus on, and then maybe we can at the end also cover a few words for the people which are not here in this call. For example, Emil, who married yesterday, or Pivo, who is currently traveling and in the airplane. I would go and maybe start with you, Martin, if you are ready. And just that you give us only about this week what you mainly worked on, maybe just 2 more words. Most of our team members are also doing time tracking now, so we can see how much work we like this ecosystem that is managed by us, by the coordinators, is putting into the different areas. There have been like nearly 400 hours of work went into the protocol. Around 130 hours of work went into the base app and wallet. We had lots of work happening in the different SDKs, in the Alexi SDK and the JavaScript SDK. Also, the DevSuite team spent more than 120 hours to improve things there. And also in this call, we did DevOps to SRE, and it was a thing I didn't know before what it means, and it's called the System Reliability Engineers. I think I like this. It's a very good.
It's actually site reliability engineering.
Yeah. So now let's start with Martin.
Okay. Hey guys, so last week our focus mainly was on updating all of the existing tools like the Contracts app, Goggles, DevSuite, and Playground with the new version of the SDK, mainly because there were new changes regarding state channels functionality, and also we have now the opportunity to benefit from the standalone compiler. Yes, so we are now we have deployed new version of the Playground 2 available on testing.playground.apps.com. I will share the link here in the chat, so you can play around again with the tool. Also, we have spent some time on updating the existing smart contracts and library examples in the Sophia examples repository. We are also updating the SDK versions there with the standalone compiler. Also, we had some feedback from the core team that we want to address and refactor the contracts. This was our main focus. Also, we had some polishment on the state channels demo that we are preparing, and our next steps there will be, we're waiting for the new release of the base app so we can finally test the integration there. Then we will deploy our own node and application for this demo, and it will be available for all of you to be to test it in the base app. So this is from us for this week.
Great, and of course all the code will also be published on GitHub and open source like always, so you can also look into the code. Maybe Stoyan, you can say a few words about the current state of the base app, and because it fits very well to what Martin just said.
Cool. Yes. So we have some kind of shared goals between this sprint and the next sprint. We're basically working on the getting the voting app to work inside the base app. But we also had some things from the past related to iOS and Android. On the iOS and Android side, we have successfully uploaded test builds in Android Play Market and in Test Flight, and I've shared them with some people internally. I can add more people. The next step in that track is we want to, between the app submission into the public stores and where we are now, there's an intermediary step, which is to have external testers, which means that anyone from the community could join. So the next step is to prepare for external testing. That means that we need to finish the descriptions, all the meta information, because external testing is very similar to the public release. It's just a public release for people who have the link, not everyone in the world. So we're gonna work towards finishing that this sprint, and some small issues related to these builds. As far as the voting app, we brought back into our sprint, this sprint, a number of dependencies. The team had previously worked on finishing the air gap integration, the ledger integration, and the desktop connection. And so these were brought back into the sprint, and now we're working through them. And we said that we're gonna, because the goals are shared between this sprint and next sprint, and we're gonna divide what we finish first. And the first thing we're going to finish is the ledger integration, which we're hoping to have done by this sprint, so the user could sign a transaction inside the voting app with the ledger. And the remaining two, which are air gap and signing with the base app inside desktop, we're gonna probably leave for next sprint. And there's one dependency here which we're not so sure if we're gonna fit it in the next sprint, which is that in order for this to be user-friendly, it makes sense to have push notifications on the phone, so that when the user needs to sign something in desktop, for example, for the voting app, he gets a prompt on his phone saying, hey, you need to sign something. There's some complexity to push notifications that's significant, and we may not fit this in the next sprint, but if we don't, it will still work. It just won't be as user-friendly, and we'll have to finish it later. So
Great.
That's it.
Great, thank you very much. This was a very good update. I also want to notice here for everybody who is watching this now or maybe later the recording of the call, please, if you have questions or suggestions, post them into the forum. Milan, you're also working on wallets. I see your screen is frozen, but if you can hear me and if you can answer, then please go next.
Hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. So please continue.
So what I was working on the last week, including the Argon 2 library for encrypting the key pair keys before storing it in the browser memory for the browser wallet. I've included some basic AI UI components from Eternity and views. Currently, the browser extension can be accessed on the develop branch in the GitHub repo, and it's currently working as an alpha version. You can basically generate wallet and sign a transaction there. Till the end of the week, I will be mostly working on improving what is done there. And the next week, I have plans to improve generating multiple addresses, switching between networks, switching between multiple accounts, and importing private keys and seed phrase from other wallets.
Great.
And yeah, next it will be available. It will be included feature for tipping websites, but I'm not sure if it will be ready next week. So it is planned, but we'll see if we can.
Even if it's not ready by the end of next week, it would be great to get by the end of next week, a short written update like always, and maybe a few screenshots so people can see the progress there too.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot. I'd like to jump to Andrea. Andrea, what are the developments in the SDK? And maybe you can also say a few words about the improvements in the middleware from John. I have seen there have been some issues solved during the last week. Yeah, maybe you can say a few words to this.
Yes, for the SDKs, we have released a new version for the JavaScript, and for the Go SDK this week. Python is going to be released shortly. Nice thing that we have now that is okay. The Go SDK is now production already, so it can be used. Especially now that the functionality are still limited, but it's can be used. And also we have the first vanity account generator included with the Go SDK. For the middleware instead, we also are close to a release that is going to be probably released at the beginning of next week. What we have there, yes, there are some bugs that have been squashed relative to forward the transactions to the node. And as a new functionality, we have now name reverse lookup and name tracking. And also we are now able to store the history of the contracts call for each contract. And that's everything, I think. Great.
These are really big improvements, I think. Very interesting to hear for all people here, I'm sure. Nikita, does your connection work? Can you say a few words about your work over the past week?
Okay, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, glad to hear you. Yes, thank you very much. As you guys know, my goals are always a little bit more long-term, so thank you for your patience. After long discussions and specifications and all the blah blah, we now are able to provide the middleware with a feature which is also used in Etherscan, where you can actually analyze what was going on in a transaction. So for example, if you transfer an ERC20 token in Ethereum, then these things can be visualized on Etherscan, and the same accounts to all other token standards, for example, non-fungible tokens. So now the standalone compiler is able to decode call data by providing smart contract code or contract bytecode, and we almost, like in 100% of the times, we have at least one of that. So the middleware and then later on the transaction explorer are able to tell if what a transaction actually did. So now we are a little bit smarter and can provide people with a better overview what is actually going on our chain. And the second thing I'm still cracking my mind about is the AEX, which I'm writing. This stuff has all been in my head for already 6 months, but we needed so many features developed beforehand for this to work. So the goal is here to get a strategic vision on syntaxes for SDK and a framework. I already started writing on it. I could actually share a screen, but I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see it. The goal is there to, like, beforehand we had a syntax which just grew organically, but did not really like follow like something like a strategic vision, which was totally all right up till now. But the goal is here to have like one smart contract function equals like one line of code in your dApp. So a 13-year-old could start building upon eternity. For that, we needed some certain components. For example, the ACI generator, which is finally finalized. And with that, with the help of that, we can then provide users with additional features and helps, which would then prevent them from doing mistakes, and also cover all the necessities from bare experimenting to like roll out production without like many or possibly any changes in the code of your dApp. yeah, based on the experiences which I made over the past 2 years in building with Ethereum, which was oftentimes a pain in the ass over the different phases of a project. Yeah, stay tuned, gonna be published. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Nikita, for that update. Pega, maybe you can say a few words about the progress in the documentation hub, because in the end of the day, people need to find all those things that are getting built in this product ecosystem. What is your plan here right now?
1 second, my connection is a little bit disturbed.
Oh, it's okay. We can hear you well.
1 second.
Okay, yes, we can hear you. Try it. Just try to speak. I mean, we will grab what we can grab, and if you break up, then that's also okay.
Okay. I'm on the name registration app. I made some UI improvements, and it works to query already registered names, but to register names itself doesn't work properly. I'm still fixing the bug. I know the issue, but I'm still figuring out how to solve it. But there's something wrong with the get functionality, and yeah, the path is not really made correctly. But what I did is I pushed the local node to a public repository, which you can follow and see on GitHub, and maybe you can clone it and play around, or maybe fix the bug. And besides that, I had a meeting with the DevSuite team yesterday, which I'm collaborating with them because they are also focusing on getting developer started with Eternity. So my task, which I started already, is to work on submodules and tools for the tour, and to think about the order, how the journey will be, and through which submodules. And besides that, I'm always fixing bugs and working on open issues, which are always coming from different people from the community, and also from another Eternity developer. So yeah, that's basically it. And my roadmap will be, of course, to deploy the name registration app, like a very simple MVP. And yeah, until next Wednesday, I have a deadline to present to the DevSuite team my idea for the submodules and tools for the tour, Eternity tool. And besides that, always expanding the documentation hub itself.
Great, thank you very much. I'm jumping directly from you to Dincho, because you mentioned hosting, and Dincho is coordinating our system reliability engineering team, and there is lots to do. I saw a list of, I don't know, 40 things in the past. Andrea was freestyling here a lot, and basically doing this next to all the other things he's doing. So Dincho, you're taking care of this area now. Any updates from your side?
Yeah, actually, last week we finally published the API gateway, and the development on Debian packaging is still ongoing. We are facing a lot of issues there, and in short term, let's say next week, I plan to focus on improve the actual structure of our monolith infrastructure repo, because right now we are blocking each other away too much while we have intensive days, for example. and we have to improve that to make the workflow a bit smoothness. That's the short plan. We'll keep the gateway running for a while, and if everything is fine, we still have to improve a bit the health checks there in regards to the syncing of the nodes. And if everything goes well there, we'll probably run testnet gateway as well in the following weeks. I think that's it.
Great, thank you very much, Dincho. Last but not least, we have Luca here, who is one of our main maintainers and coordinators in the core protocol team, and he will give us a short update on behalf of Sergey about what's going on, or what was going on the last week in the core development. Hello, Luca, welcome.
Hello, thank you. The last week was mainly development for the future major protocol versions, and then some test stability improvements. So regarding developments for the future major protocol versions, there has been included some groundwork for generalized accounts, that is generalizing the authorization for operations. That is not enabled now. These are things that will be enabled in the future, okay? In this hard fork, hopefully. Yes. That shall happen in May. And then some groundwork for regarding improvements in state channels for the predictability of operations on the chain regarding state channels. Again, not now enabled at the hard fork, hopefully. And then there has been some test improvements, in particular on Windows, some work for smoke testing the artifacts generated, and therefore reduce the time required for releasing a new version for the packages of Windows. And then some review of our test coverage. We had written some tests in the past, but these tests had not been kept up to date, so we're trying to refresh them. Also, some tests have been written for these new future functionalities that I mentioned. Now, there are also other things that are cooking at the moment. A stability fix is being prepared related to mempool and database, and hopefully we will include it today or next week, and this shall be a stability fix for this stable release. Does not require a hard fork. Also, we have cooking changes for implementing Stratum, that basically a way for distributing rewards to pools of miners. This is not included yet, but we are considering whether we shall include a base version of this feature in this release or in the following one. And yeah, other thing that we are doing, I expect beginning of next week, is checking actually that the documentation is up to date and that we didn't introduce any bugs. So yeah, next week will be a bit slower.
Speak to Pega. She will have an eye on you.
Yeah, no.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I think this was a really nice update round again, and I'm looking forward to do the same thing next week, same time. Not with us is Emil. As I said, he was working on the expansions and especially the AEX3. I think there is a draft online already for people to look into it. And Sasha, who is also not here, he is working on specifications and of the protocol, and is going to publish some documentation about generalized accounts, what I've heard this morning also from Hans. And he's also working on the governance specifications on protocol level. Yeah, this is it from this call. Maybe just it's worth to mention that these are not all products in the product ecosystem. There are startups building different things, like for example, which is an art collector's app, or a decentralized exchange called Radex, and many things are moving. And also yesterday we have announced 4 startups that Eternity is going to support in order to build their idea on top of this protocol. And so many things are going on. I thank you all for your time, and I'm very much looking forward for next week's written updates, and next week Friday for another product coordinator weekly call. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.